Tycoon has sparked outrage over his controversial comments that parents who work from home are sending the wrong message to their children. Pimlico Plumbers founder and a former Tory donor, maybe the word former is important, I don't know, Charlie Mullins here says the shift to home working is already, he says, destroying the economy and will have a devastating knock-on effect for generations to come. There's definitely a shift in the way people want to work, that is for sure. Yeah. Whether it's damaging or not is the debate, I guess.
Well, that's the point.
Yes.
And joining us now, we've got Geeta Sidhu-Rob, who is owner of food company Nos Detox, and Tina Knight, the business consultant and chairperson of Women into Business. What do you think, Tina? Do you think he's got a point, or is he talking through his plumbing?
No, I mean, the problem is people don't like to hear the truth now, do they? Everything has to be sugar-coated. I think he's absolutely spot on. The only thing I think he's got wrong, it's not the next generation, it's here with us now. OK,
explain to us how it's doing damage. Well,
because if you were to ask somebody what they'd like to do, everybody'd like to work at home, do an hour in the morning, a nice long lunch hour to go on their Peloton or in the garden, an hour in the afternoon. But we have to deal with reality. Business is to make money, which makes a profit, which the government taxes, which then makes the wheels go round. And profit seems to be a dirty word now in business, but for profit, you've got to have productivity. And in the first few months of lockdown, there was this euphoric sort of Dunkirk spirit. Let's all pull together, we'll work from home and we're really going to get down to it. And productivity went up for a short while. And I had some sort of young Turk I was in discussion with on another programme, sort of basically say I was practically a dodo for having these sort of ideas. And I said, wait, just wait, see what happens. And you're finding that the mental problem is becoming more pronounced because people actually are gregarious. They like the camaraderie of working, the buzz of working, the brainstorming, the general thing that gives extra output, and companies are now finding that missing. And a lot of the reasons companies are now bowing to the pressure of people working from home is because there's a shortage of staff in many areas and they're being sort of blackmailed into a situation. You've only got to look at the financial sector. They're all actually telling their people, come back to work or you'll risk losing your job.
Right.
And that's the most important thing.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, it's an interesting point that you make as chair of Women in Business, because often, you know, women who go into setting up their own business often say, I just couldn't manage home life and work life, and I was sort of being pulled in two directions, so I set up something at home, and actually my life flourished, my parenting guilt sort of was allayed. And Geeta, you are actually, I think, one of those women, very successful, runs your business from home, now employs others. And actually for you, what do you make of what Tina's just said there, and indeed what Charlie Mullins says, that it's actually damaging a generation? The example you're setting to children is that it's OK to just wander down at 9 o'clock in your pyjamas and work, is the image we're being given.
Having said which, it's 7:20 and I'm in full makeup, so yeah, not quite. Well, firstly, I'm not joining Women in Business, and if I'm part of it, I will leave, because to me, that's not just old-fashioned. I think old-fashioned is a very polite way of putting it. I think it's actually quite an offensive approach, which is yet another stick to beat women with when they're really just trying to do the best that they're trying to do. I've been working from home for 18 years because my eldest son was very, very ill, and I had to make the money to pay the bills, and I had to look after my children. And there just wasn't another way to do it. It is incredibly outrageous and offensive to say I work an hour a day. I put 3 kids through private school, have built a business, employ loads of people, and I get dressed in the morning, I come downstairs, I treat it as an office, I work from here, and I will put in 8, 10, 12 hours days as my business needs it. The trouble with this kind of approach is that you're sort of, it's all very well for people being very wealthy, but for everyone else, we've had such a hard time. We're doing the very, very best we can. And this sort of thing is trying to make you feel bad. Yeah. And I want you to not feel bad. I want you to feel amazing about what you're doing.
The thing is also, Tina, there is a question of, you know, if you are on a lower wage, the cost of transport, getting in and out of work, if, you know, wherever you work, it can be quite a burden. You know, rail prices are high. You know, you're trying to insure your car, you're trying to pay for, we saw with the petrol prices going through the roof. So there is an economic benefit, isn't there, to people being able to work from home, which in a sense releases some of the stress that people feel in that financial pressure, no?
Tina.
Thank you. It would help if the previous speaker actually listened to what I said rather than criticise. As a chairman of Women into Business, I'm all for women working home. It's a lifestyle business, so probably you can't generalise and everything. We're talking about things. Women do have a choice, which is something men don't have, quite frankly. They are often cosseted in the sense that they can change jobs. And when they do start family, many women do start out on their own and are often very, very successful. But what is strange is as their business grows and they become more successful and they start employing people and the realities set in, then attitudes do change. And it's all very well saying you've got expenses incurred with work. Yes, it's what's called life. But we've got to make the wheels go round. And so there's room for everything. If people want to have their own business and work from home, that's fine. But when you've got larger businesses and you personally are reliant on raising enough funds to pay wages, you've got to compete with other countries outside doing these things. You have to look at it from a different perspective. Yeah. And it's not really offensive to tell the truth. I'm very sorry if it offends, but it's certainly not offensive.
Well, what about the point? I mean, the central question to this debate is this setting a bad example to children? And if you've got someone like Geeta who's working an 8-hour day and when her child is at home from school, he can see his mum is working, that's surely setting a good example, isn't it?
Well, she's very lucky that if she's working from home, she's only working an 8-hour day, because I find when you work from home, you do actually work more hours. It is setting a bad example, and I actually did read very quickly this morning, so it was skip read, what the gentleman said. And he used as an example the business of unemployment benefits and how that has now set bad examples. You've got 3 generations of families now that have never gone to work because it's a mindset. When I was a councillor, I actually was talking to one of the residents whose son was in a strop because his wages hadn't arrived. And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realise he'd got a job now." And she looked at me aghast. She said, "No, but his wages hadn't arrived. His wages was his dole money." So that was an attitude that I find quite intolerable, but it's what's happened. And I can see, and I can understand where the gentleman who made these comments came from. He's looking at that as the way things are going. The sense of entitlement of people nowadays is absolutely incredible. In my day, which obviously I'm a dinosaur, according to the former speaker, was a day's work for a day's pay. Don't see what's wrong in that.
You see, the point is, Geeta, the point is, coming back to Geeta, is that, I mean, we obviously take everything that you've told us about the way that you've been working from home all these years at face value. You're clearly telling us the truth. You work very hard. But let's face it, I mean, just as there are lazy people in the office, those people are going to be lazy when they're at home, but there's nobody to check on them. There's nobody to actually follow them up. So when they get a phone call, when they're actually just about to go out for a jog, and they tell their boss on the phone, no, I'm just about to do those figures now, you'll have them in a couple of hours, then they go for a jog. I mean, we have to accept that, don't we, that the lines of discipline are simply not nearly as strong when you're dealing with somebody who's working in what used to be an office environment from their living room or from their kitchen.
The thing with that, Richard, is that we actually are coming from 2 completely different environments with Tina and myself. The issue is this. I have people that I employ. I have children that I've talked to yesterday, and I was like, do you feel uninspired by the fact that I work from home? Do you feel entitled? And what happens is that you have to have a level of trust that when you give someone a job and you're paying them to do that job, that they deliver the job. If you need them to come to the office to deliver it, there are innumerable studies talking about how much effective work gets done while someone is sitting at a cubicle or at a desk trying to get something done. Whereas if you say, can you have this done and give it to me? Why should I care when you go for a job? It's literally nothing to do with me. As long as you deliver what I need done at the time I need it done. I have employees who will be working on their days off to deliver things, especially for, you know, we're a delivery business. So where the petrol disappeared, my team were doing 7 days a week, and they're not working from the office. They're still doing that.
It's interesting you sort of said, Richard, you know, about going for a jog. I actually think that if you go for a jog in the middle of the day, you clear your head. You want healthy employees rather than those who are, you know, when I've worked in 12-hour shifts, you end up eating biscuits at 2 o'clock and having a bit of an afternoon slump because of the carb loading. I think
you're right, Randy.
There's something about working from home and being able to manage your hours.
Well, it's just that I think that in the good old British puritanical way of thinking, we're so quick to make moral judgments, aren't we? And I think it's quite refreshing. It's quite refreshing, actually, to hear the other point of view being put. So look, we're out of time for that, but we did ask people what they think.
Geeta was chomping at the bit there to make another. We haven't got time, mate. You've got to work from home, Geeta. So we know you're working very hard, but we have got a Twitter poll. Is working from home setting the wrong example to children?
Well, 28% of you said, yep, it is, but 72% said, no, it's absolutely fine. We have no problem with it. I think maybe we're looking at a permanent change, actually.
We definitely are. The only issue I have with it, and I talk to younger people, is, I want a mentor, I want to talk to somebody about how I'm doing. It's very difficult to get feedback over Zoom or whatever.
That's true.
Because often it's just done, am I doing OK? And somebody, oh, by the way, I loved what you did the other day. And you lose all of that, don't you?
Wouldn't it be great if we could work from home? Hey?
I think we're very lucky, generally speaking.
Plump up the pillows and do the links from bed. That'd be wonderful.